You can hum the iconic masterpieces by heart, but true mastery isn't always found on the charts. We journey past the familiar peaks to explore the volcanic craters and hidden valleys of metal, revealing breathtaking solos that have been tragically overshadowed by their more famous sibling. Here are the 22 most underrated guitar solos in heavy metal history. 1. Blue Oyster Cult, veteran of the Psychic Wars. Blue Oyster Cult is a band of profound dichotomies, most famous for a cowbell gag and the soft rock perfection of Don't Fear the Reaper. Yet beneath that surface lies a catalog of dark, cerebral, and genuinely heavy rock. Veteran of the Psychic Wars, known to many from the animated film Heavy Metal, is a brooding, atmospheric epic. Its solo is the definition of an overshadowed masterpiece, a masterclass in mood and texture that is rarely mentioned in the same breath as the band's more famous hits. Architect Don Old Buck Dharma Rozier proves here that a solo's power isn't always in its speed, but in its ability to perfectly capture and elevate a song's narrative. The solo emerges not from a heavy riff, but from a pulsating, synth-driven groove, giving it an otherworldly science fiction quality. Buck Dharma's playing is patient and deliberate. He builds tension slowly, using long, sustained notes drenched in chorus and delay that hang in the air like ghosts. His note choices are impeccable, leaning on the melancholic feel of the minor scale, but adding unexpected melodic twists that mirror the protagonist's weary disillusionment. The solo's genius lies in its restraint. There are no blistering runs or flashy tricks, only a pure, haunting melody that speaks of ancient battles and cosmic sorrow. It is a piece of storytelling that prioritizes atmosphere over athletics, a perfect sonic landscape for a war fought in the mind. 2. Riot, Swords and Tequila. Riot is one of the great what-if stories in American heavy metal. Possessing world-class songwriting and the fiery guitar work of the late Mark Lee, they were a bridge between 70s hard rock and the burgeoning power metal scene. Swords and Tequila is a foundational anthem of U.S. power metal, yet the band never reached the heights of their peers, leaving much of their work admired by connoisseurs but unheard by the masses. This solo is underrated because of its pioneering status. Long before Yngwie Malmsteen brought neoclassical flair to the forefront, Lee was blending melodic, almost classical sensibilities with raw, rock and roll energy. And this solo is a prime example of his unique style. The solo explodes with a burst of pure, unadulterated energy. Lee's playing is a joyous celebration of the electric guitar. The solo is built on fast melodic runs that are both incredibly catchy and technically impressive. His phrasing is fluid and confident, seamlessly weaving together major and minor pentatonic scales with a distinctively bright, upbeat feel. Unlike the darker, more aggressive solos of their British contemporaries, Lee's work here is triumphant and heroic. His tone is clean and cutting, allowing every note to ring out with perfect clarity. It's a concise, perfectly constructed piece of lead work that captures the spirit of adventure and rebellion, setting a template for hundreds of power metal bands to come. 3. Tigers of Pan Tang, Gangland. Before he became a global superstar with Whitesnake and Thin Lizzy, a young John Sykes was the secret weapon for new wave of British heavy metal stalwarts, Tigers of Pan Tang. Their 1981 album Spellbound is a classic of the genre, but it's often overshadowed by the bigger names like Iron Maiden and Saxon. The solo in Gangland is a showcase of a future guitar god honing his craft in a raw, aggressive setting. It is underrated because it represents the ferocious, untamed genesis of a style that would later be polished for arena rock consumption. Here, you can hear the hunger and fire of a legend in the making. The solo is an exercise in controlled chaos. Sykes enters with a flurry of notes, immediately establishing a sense of urgency and danger. His playing is a whirlwind of rapid-fire legato, aggressive alternate picking, and his soon-to-be signature wide, expressive vibrato. What makes this solo so compelling is the contrast between his technical precision and the raw, almost punk rock energy of the song. He crams an incredible number of ideas into a short space, with phrases that seem to tumble into one another. His tone is biting and trebly, cutting through the mix like a switchblade. It is a thrilling, high-octane performance that hints at the melodic genius and technical wizardry that would soon make him a household name. 4. Cirith Ungol, Frost and Fire. Cirith Ungol is the ultimate cult band. Named after a location in Tolkien's The Lord of the Rings, their brand of doomy, epic heavy metal was unlike anything else at the time, defined by Tim Baker's unique vocals and the raw, unorthodox guitar work of Jerry Fogull. The title track of their debut album is a perfect entry point into their strange world. Fogull's solo is underrated for the simple reason that the band itself is a niche taste. It is a prime example of a solo that values feeling and raw power over technical perfection, a messy, glorious, and utterly unique statement. This solo is not for the faint of heart. Fogull's approach is raw and primal. The solo is a deluge of sludgy, blues-based licks played with a fuzzed-out, overloaded tone that sounds like an amplifier on the verge of exploding. He employs massive, gut-wrenching string bends and a wild, shaking vibrato that gives the solo a sense of instability and desperation. There is no clean shredding here. This is pure, unfiltered aggression. The phrasing is unconventional, with licks that start and stop in unexpected places, creating a jarring, unsettling effect that perfectly matches the song's dark, sword and sorcery atmosphere. It's a primitive, powerful, and unforgettable piece of lead guitar. 5. Manowar Mountains. Manowar, the self-proclaimed kings of metal, built their legend on bombastic anthems of battle, brotherhood, and glory. Their image and lyrical content often overshadow the formidable musicianship at the heart of the band. The solo in Mountains, a deep cut from their classic Sign of the Hammer album, is a case in point. It's an epic, melodic, and beautifully constructed piece of music from guitarist Ross "the Boss" Friedman that gets lost amidst louder, faster tracks like All Men Play on 10.9. It is underrated because it showcases a level of melodic sophistication and emotional depth not always associated with the band's brute force approach. This is a solo of pure, heroic melody. Ross, the Boss, uses his guitar to paint a vast, cinematic landscape. The solo begins with a strong, memorable theme that feels like the main melody of a film score. His playing is clean and powerful, with a rich singing tone. He uses long, soaring string bends and a perfectly controlled vibrato to give the solo an immense sense of scale and grandeur. While he possessed the speed, here he prioritizes melody and phrasing, allowing each note to breathe and resonate. The solo builds logically to a majestic peak before gracefully descending back into the song. It is a masterclass in composition, a testament to the idea that true power in music often comes from melody, not just volume. WASP. The Idol, WASP, is primarily known for the shock rock antics and snarling vocals of frontman Blackie Lawless. However, their 1992 concept album, The Crimson Idol, is a dark, ambitious, and emotionally resonant masterpiece. The 9-minute power ballad The Idol is its centerpiece, featuring a stunning, extended guitar solo performed by session legend Bob Kulick. The solo is underrated for two key reasons. It's on an album from a band many had written off by the 90s, and it was performed by a hired gun, not a formal band member. It is a tour de force of emotional, melodic playing that stands as one of the great unsung ballad solos of the decade. Kulick's performance is a lesson in narrative guitar playing. The solo is a long, multi-part journey that mirrors the protagonist's despair and isolation. It begins with slow, mournful phrases, each note dripping with emotion. Kulick's bends are deep and soulful. his vibrato perfectly capturing a sense of anguish. As the solo progresses, it builds in intensity, incorporating faster, more fluid runs that represent a surge of anger and frustration. His tone is thick and saturated, but with a clarity that allows every nuance to be heard. The solo reaches a powerful climax before fading out with a series of weeping, melodic lines, bringing the song's tragic story to a heartbreaking conclusion. 7. Armored Saint, Can You Deliver? In the mid-'80s Los Angeles scene, Armored Saint was a band of true grit. While their peers were donning spandex and hairspray, the Saint played a tougher, more street-level brand of traditional heavy metal. Can You Deliver is their definitive anthem, a powerful statement of intent from their debut album. The solo by the late great Dave Pritchard is a burst of pure fire. It remains underrated because Armored Saint, despite being a phenomenal band with a legendary frontman in John Bush, was consistently overshadowed by the thrash metal explosion happening around them. Pritchard's solo is a perfect blend of technical flash and memorable melody. It rips out of the speaker with a high-speed, alternate-picked run that immediately grabs the listener's attention. His playing is aggressive and precise, full of fast-fingered licks and dive bombs that add a sense of wild abandon. Yet beneath the speed, there is a strong melodic core. The solo is catchy and well-constructed, with phrases that are easy to hum along to. His tone is sharp and biting, the quintessential sound of 80s American metal. It's a short, explosive, and perfectly executed solo that encapsulates everything that made the band so special. Power, melody, and attitude. 8. Grim Reaper, See You in Hell. Grim Reaper was the epitome of no-frills, high-energy new wave of British heavy metal. Led by the powerful vocals of Steve Grimmett, their music was fast, catchy, and unapologetically over the top. The title track from their debut album is their most famous song, but the guitar solo by Nick Baucott is often overlooked as a serious piece of work, dismissed as part of the song's campy fun. In reality, it is a quintessential NWOBHM solo, a masterclass in combining speed, aggression, and hook-laden melody. It's underrated because its musicality is often missed beneath the band's cartoonish, hell-raising image. Baucott's solo is a textbook example of economical, high-impact lead playing. It doesn't waste a single note. It kicks off with a memorable, harmonized melodic line before launching into a series of lightning-fast pentatonic runs. His playing is energetic and slightly frantic, perfectly matching the song's driving tempo. He makes excellent use of pinched harmonics and whammy bar squeals, adding a layer of wildness to the proceedings. The solo is incredibly catchy, with a clear sense of structure and a climax that leads perfectly back into the final chorus. It's a thrilling, fist-pumping piece of guitar work that is far more cleverly constructed than it's often given credit for. 9. Queensryche, The Needle Lies. Operation. Mindcrime is a landmark album, a progressive metal masterpiece filled with iconic songs and brilliant performances. On an album that contains Eyes of a Stranger and I Don't Believe in Love, it's easy for other moments to get lost. The solo in The Needle Lies, a frantic, aggressive track depicting the protagonist's addiction-fueled paranoia, is one such moment. Penned by the brilliant Chris Doug Garmo, it's a burst of pure, unhinged energy that is often overshadowed by the album's more melodic, atmospheric solos. It is underrated because it is a moment of raw, chaotic fury on an album celebrated for its polish and sophistication. This solo is the sonic equivalent of a panic attack. Doug Garmo's playing is fast, dissonant, and intentionally unsettling. He uses a series of jagged, chromatic runs and atonal licks that clash with the underlying harmony, creating a powerful sense of unease. His use of the tremolo bar is extreme, with wild dive bombs and gargling noises that mirror the chaos in the protagonist's mind. The solo is less a structured composition and more a visceral expression of a specific emotional state. It's a short, sharp shock, a brilliant piece of programmatic playing that perfectly serves the album's dark narrative. 10. Sanctuary, Battle Angels. Before Warrell Dane and Jim Shepard formed the legendary Nevermore, they were the creative core of Sanctuary, a Seattle-based power metal band. Their debut album, Refuge Denied, produced by Megadeth's Dave Mustaine, is a cult classic. The opening track, Battle Angels, features a stunning guitar solo from Lenny Rutledge that is a masterwork of the genre. It remains underrated for a simple reason. Sanctuary was a band out of time and place. Their brand of technical, soaring power metal was largely ignored in the late 80s, especially in their hometown, which was about to become the epicenter of the grunge explosion. Rutledge's solo is a breathtaking display of virtuosity and melody. It begins with a beautiful, harmonized theme that establishes a heroic, epic mood. From there, he launches into a series of incredibly fast and clean, sweep-picked arpeggios and intricate scale runs. His technique is flawless, but it is always in service of the song. The solo has a clear sense of purpose and direction, building in intensity and complexity before resolving in a powerful, soaring climax. His tone is sharp and articulate, with just the right amount of delay to give it a spacious, epic feel. It is a world-class performance from a guitarist who deserved far more recognition. 11. Fate's Warning, The Apparition. Before progressive metal was a clearly defined genre, Fate's Warning was busy inventing it. Their early work, particularly the 1985 album The Spectre Within, is a strange, complex, and utterly unique blend of NWO/BHM influences and nascent prog complexity. The solo in The Apparition, from original guitarist Victor Arduini, is a perfect example of their early, unconventional style. It is underrated because it represents a road not taken for the band, who would move towards a more polished, refined sound on later albums. This solo is a glimpse into their raw, strange, and fascinating beginnings. Arduini's solo is weird in the best possible way. It feels less like a pre-written part and more like a stream of consciousness exploration of the fretboard. His phrasing is angular and unpredictable, with licks that twist and turn in unexpected directions. He uses a mix of fast, aggressive pentatonic runs and slower, more melodic passages, but they are stitched together in a way that feels disjointed and jarring. His tone is thin and raw, adding to the solo's unsettling quality. This is not a solo designed for easy consumption. It's a challenging, almost confrontational piece of music that reflects the band's early, experimental spirit. 12. Crimson Glory, Red Sharks. Florida's Crimson Glory was a band that had it all. The incredible vocals of frontman Midnight, a mysterious image with their iconic silver masks, and the formidable twin guitar attack of John Dren Ning and Ben Jackson. Their self-titled debut is a masterpiece of U.S. power metal, yet they remain a cult act. The solo in the aggressive speed metal track Red Sharks is a tour de force from Dren Ning. It is underrated because, like the band, it is a world-class performance that simply did not get the mainstream exposure it deserved. The solo section in Red Sharks is a masterclass in building excitement. Dren Ning's solo is a perfect marriage of blinding speed and memorable melody. He unleashes a torrent of lightning-fast alternate picking, sweep arpeggios, and two-handed tapping, all executed with breathtaking precision. Yet, for all its technicality, the solo is incredibly melodic and catchy. It's built around a series of memorable phrases that are both heroic and menacing. The dual guitar harmonies that pepper the solo section are tight and powerful, a clear nod to the influence of bands like Judas Priest and Iron Maiden. It is a flawless display of power metal guitar pyrotechnics. 13. Candlemass, Solitude. On their legendary debut album, Sweden's Candlemass single-handedly defined the epic doom metal genre. The opening track, Solitude, is the quintessential doom anthem, a monolithic slab of crushing despair. The guitar solo, delivered by Mott's Mappé Bjorkman, is not a typical solo. It is slow, sparse, and utterly essential to the song's atmosphere. It is underrated because in a world that often measures solos by notes per second, this one's genius lies in its profound sense of restraint and its ability to convey immense emotion with just a handful of perfectly placed notes. The solo in Solitude is the sound of grief itself. It is a slow, mournful melody played with a thick, heavy tone that feels like it carries the weight of the world. Bjorkman doesn't shred. He cries through his guitar. The solo is built on a few simple, yet incredibly powerful, melodic phrases. He uses long, gut-wrenching string bends and a slow, deliberate vibrato that makes each note resonate with sorrow. The power of the solo comes from the space between the notes, the moments of silence that allow the listener to feel the full impact of the song's oppressive atmosphere. It is a perfect example of how a solo can be crushingly heavy without relying on speed or aggression. 14. Celtic Frost. The Usurper. Switzerland's Celtic Frost was one of the most important and influential bands of the 1980s underground. Led by the visionary Tom G. Warrior, they were pioneers of thrash, death, and black metal. Their approach to the guitar solo was often unconventional, prioritizing atmosphere and raw emotion over technical prowess. The solo in The Usurper is a prime example of this anti-solo philosophy. It is underrated because it defies traditional metrics of what makes a solo good. It is not technical or melodic in the conventional sense, but it is a perfect statement of the band's dark, primitive, and avant-garde aesthetic. This solo is a burst of atonal, primitive noise. Tom G. Warrior attacks his guitar with a savage, almost violent intensity. The solo consists of a series of jarring, high-pitched squeals, aggressive pick scrapes, and atonal bends, all drenched in reverb and delay. It sounds less like a piece of music and more like the screeching of metal on metal. There is no sense of key or scale. It is pure, chaotic texture. Yet it works perfectly within the context of the song, adding a layer of industrial, otherworldly horror to the track's chugging Neanderthal riff. It is a bold, confrontational piece of art that was years ahead of its time. 15. Iced Earth, Dante's Inferno. Iced Earth's 16-minute epic, Dante's Inferno, is one of the most ambitious tracks in the history of U.S. power metal. A journey through the 9 circles of hell, it is a complex, multi-part suite of a song. Within this monster track lies a vast and varied solo section, primarily crafted by lead guitarist Randol Chauvier. The solo is underrated due to the sheer density of the song it inhabits. It is not a single, digestible moment, but a long narrative journey that is often overlooked by listeners overwhelmed by the track's epic scope. The solo section is not one solo, but a series of interconnected lead passages that represent different stages of the journey through hell. Chauvier's playing is a showcase of versatility. There are fast, aggressive thrash-inspired runs, slower, more melodic and bluesy passages, and beautiful harmonized sections that evoke a sense of tragic grandeur. He uses a wide range of techniques, from sweep picking to soulful bending, each chosen to match the mood of the specific circle of hell being depicted. It's a massive, sprawling, and incredibly ambitious piece of guitar work that demonstrates a level of compositional thinking far beyond the standard verse-chorus solo format. 16. Nevermore, The River Dragon Has Come. Jeff Loomis is a guitarist's guitarist, a technical deity whose 7-string wizardry with Nevermore set a new standard for modern metal. While he is revered by those in the know, his work remains largely unknown to the mainstream metal audience. The solo in The River Dragon Has Come is a perfect example of his genius. It is a mind-bendingly complex, terrifyingly aggressive, and yet somehow melodic piece of music. It is underrated simply because it operates on a technical and compositional level that is almost incomprehensible to the average listener, a true cult classic of shred. The solo is a controlled hurricane. Loomis unleashes a dizzying array of advanced techniques, all played with flawless precision on his 7-string guitar. There are lightning-fast, sweep-picked arpeggios that span the entire fretboard, complex legato runs that feel impossibly fluid, and aggressive, dissonant phrases that add a sense of chaos and menace. Yet, for all its complexity, the solo has a clear sense of structure and a dark, memorable melodic contour. His tone is thick and menacing, and his use of the low B string adds a crushing weight to the performance. It is a jaw-dropping display of virtuosity from one of modern metal's true innovators. 17. Gamma Ray, Lust for Life. After leaving his legendary band Helloween, guitarist Kig Hansen formed Gamma Ray to continue his pioneering work in the European power metal scene. The solo in Lust for Life from their debut album is a burst of pure, unadulterated joy. It is often overshadowed by Hansen's more famous work on Helloween's Keeper of the Seven Keys albums, but it is a perfect encapsulation of his signature style. It is underrated because it is a moment of pure, triumphant fun from a guitarist often discussed in more serious historical terms as a genre pioneer. This solo is the sound of celebration. Hansen's playing is fast, melodic, and incredibly upbeat. The solo is built around a series of catchy, singable melodic phrases played at a blistering tempo. He employs rapid-fire alternate picking and fluid legato runs, but the focus is always on the hook. His tone is bright and clear, and his phrasing has a bouncy, infectious quality. It's a solo that is guaranteed to put a smile on your face, a perfect example of the joyous, life-affirming spirit that defines the best of European power metal. It's less a technical exercise and more a pure expression of a lust for life. 18. Annihilator, Alice in Hell. Jeff Waters, the mastermind behind Canadian technical thrash legends. Annihilator is a true original. His style is a quirky, unpredictable blend of precision riffing and strange, almost classical lead work. The solo in their most famous song, Alice in Hell, is a perfect example of his unique approach. While the song is a thrash classic, the solo itself is often not given the analytical credit it deserves. It is underrated as a compositional gem, a bizarre and brilliant piece of music that breaks all the rules of a typical thrash solo. The solo is a journey into a fractured mind. It begins with a clean-toned, classical-inspired acoustic passage that is completely unexpected in the context of a thrash metal song. This delicate, intricate intro sets a creepy, unsettling mood. When the distorted electric guitar kicks in, it doesn't launch into a typical shredfest. Instead, Waters crafts a series of angular, disjointed melodic phrases that feel both methodical and insane. He uses strange note choices and unconventional phrasing, creating a sense of tension and paranoia. The solo is less about showing off speed and more about creating a specific, terrifying atmosphere, making it a masterwork of programmatic storytelling. 19. Atheist, Unquestionable Presence. In the early 90s, while most of the Florida death metal scene was focused on brutality, Atheist was exploring a completely different path. Their music was a high-speed collision of death metal aggression and the harmonic complexity of jazz fusion. The solo in the title track of their landmark second album, delivered by guitarist Rand Burke, was decades ahead of its time. It is underrated because it was so revolutionary that many listeners simply did not know what to make of it. It is a solo that completely deconstructed and rebuilt the conventions of metal guitar. This solo is a mind-altering experience. Burke's playing owes more to jazz fusion legends like Alan Holdsworth and John McLaughlin than to traditional metal guitarists. The solo is a whirlwind of fluid, legato-based lines that weave in and out of the song's complex, shifting time signatures. His note choices are incredibly sophisticated, using altered scales and chromaticism to create a sound that is both beautiful and deeply strange. His tone is clean and processed with chorus, a stark contrast to the high-gain sound of his death metal peers. It is a solo that is not about riffs or aggression, but about pure, transcendent musical exploration. 20. Dark Angel, The Death of Innocence. Darkness Descends is one of the most relentlessly brutal and influential thrash metal albums ever recorded. It is a monument to pure, unadulterated speed and aggression. In such a chaotic environment, a guitar solo can easily get lost. The solo in The Death of Innocence from guitarist Eric Meyer is not just lost, it's a vortex of pure evil. It is underrated because it is the perfect sonic manifestation of the album's ethos: pure, chaotic, and terrifying. It is not meant to be hummed along to, it is meant to be survived. This is the sound of Armageddon. Meyer's solo is an atonal nightmare, a barrage of noise that perfectly complements the song's apocalyptic fury. He uses his tremolo bar to create a series of shrieking, screaming dive bombs that sound like incoming artillery shells. The melodic content consists of jagged, frantic, high-speed runs played with a total disregard for key or scale. It is pure, white-hot noise delivered with a ferocity that is still shocking today. This solo is the ultimate expression of thrash metal's violent, chaotic potential, a terrifying and brilliant piece of extreme music. 21. Sabotage, Hall of the Mountain King. Released in 1987, Hall of the Mountain King marked a major turning point for Sabotage as it launched the band into the realm of theatrical, symphonic metal. The album's title track is a towering, almost operatic piece of heavy metal storytelling, and its emotional heart lies within the guitar solo by the late, great Chris Oliva. Often overlooked in lists of all-time great solos, Chris's performance here is nothing short of legendary, a flawless blend of technical mastery, dramatic flair, and pure melodic instinct. Chris Oliva's tone is instantly recognizable. Warm, rounded, and perfectly saturated, it cuts through the mix without ever sounding abrasive. The solo begins with a flurry of ascending scale runs, each note perfectly placed, never rushed, showcasing his virtuosic control over the fretboard. But what sets Chris apart is the emotional weight behind each phrase. He doesn't simply shred for speed. Instead, he plays with feeling, bending notes with a vocal-like vibrato that seems to cry out as the mythical story unfolds beneath him. His phrasing is deliberate, matching the song's epic narrative about a mythical king in a dark and magical realm. What's particularly striking about this solo is the way it reflects the structure of a classical piece. Chris utilizes harmonized guitar lines that echo the grandeur of composers like Wagner or Tchaikovsky. The solo is essentially a mini-symphony embedded within a metal track. It builds tension, resolves it, then erupts into a crescendo that feels like a hero scaling the peaks of a treacherous mountain, hence the song's title. The rhythm underneath shifts subtly to accommodate his melodic arc, with drummer Steve Wachholz and bassist Johnny Lee Middleton following his lead, as if scoring a dramatic sword fight. Though Sabotage would go on to embrace even more ambitious symphonic elements, eventually morphing into Trans-Siberian Orchestra, this solo stands as one of Chris Oliva's finest moments. It's technical without being mechanical, melodic without being predictable, and it lingers in the mind long after the last note fades, a rare quality that elevates it to the realm of forgotten genius. 22. Merciful Fate, A Dangerous Meeting. From Merciful Fate's 1984 classic, Don't Break the Oath, A Dangerous Meeting is a defining moment in occult-themed metal. while King Diamond's falsetto wails and theatrical lyrics usually steal the spotlight. The song's true hidden treasure is the guitar solo, a spine-tingling interplay between Hank Shermann and Michael Denner that oozes with eerie brilliance. It's a haunting, underrated gem that showcases the band's ability to evoke dread and beauty in the same breath. The solo enters like a spirit slipping through a crack in reality, soft at first, then gradually rising in intensity. Shermann and Denner alternate and then harmonize with sinister precision, weaving a tapestry of sound that feels like a seance put to music. Their twin guitar attack is reminiscent of Thin Lizzy's harmonies, but injected with something darker and colder. Each note carries weight, bending and twisting like flickering candlelight in a haunted chapel. What makes this solo remarkable is its restraint. It never bursts into a chaotic frenzy for the sake of flash. Instead, it unfolds methodically, laced with foreboding and slow-burning menace. Subtle vibrato, carefully measured slides, and perfectly timed pauses enhance the tension. The use of reverb and delay adds an unearthly echo, making it sound as if the solo is being played from beyond the veil. Toward the end, the solo blossoms into a climax of fast-picked notes and harmonized flourishes that seem to spiral into madness, mirroring the song's narrative of a doomed occult gathering. It's a rare example of a metal solo that tells a story without words, relying purely on mood, tone, and technique. Sadly, this solo is often overlooked due to Merciful Fate's cult status and the overshadowing effect of King Diamond's theatrical presence. But for those who listen closely, Shermann and Denner deliver a performance that rivals the greatest dual lead work in metal history. A Dangerous Meeting isn't just a meeting of doomed souls, it's a meeting of master guitarists crafting something truly timeless.